For 16 years, residents of Arvin have been waging a battle against the oil industry and other polluters in Kern County, the heart of California oil country. This is their story of fighting to protect the health of their families and future generations.
Yo pienso que todos estos pozos de petróleo que tenemos adentro de la ciudad de Arvin no deben de estar, ni adentro de Arvin ni adentro de ninguna otra ciudad.
Arvin is a small agricultural community in Kern County, nestled against the foothills south of Bakersfield. Kern County sits on the southern end of the San Joaquin Valley in Central California. Oil looms large here, and so does its political power. Kern is one of the highest oil-producing counties in the nation, with 70,000 active wells, accounting for 70% of California's oil extraction. Kern County is also known for its pollution.
Kern County has some of the worst air in the country. In fact, the American Lung Association maintains that Bakersfield is one of the most polluted cities in the history of their survey.
We are breathing in a very thick, contaminated air. Our water is contaminated just as well.
Hay mucha gente aquí que está enferma de cáncer, de asma, de alergias, por toda la contaminación que hay.
We're not free to live here the way every human being should live, free and be able to breathe.
The Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment, a regional environmental justice group, began working in Arvin in 2007.
One of my coworkers received a call that EPA was coming to Arvin to have a community meeting about the Superfund site. And that's when the journey for Sal advocating for his community started.
Sal Partida, along with other Arvin residents, founded the Committee for a Better Arvin in order to organize and educate residents about local pollution and environmental issues.
All our efforts are geared towards the cleaning of our environment.
The committee began educating residents and encouraging community members to appear before the Arvin City Council and the Kern County Board of Supervisors, advocating for public health protections.
In 2014, we heard about this county ordinance that was being formed, an industry-funded ordinance to minimize and streamline permitting in Kern County without any public review.
Through one environmental impact report, any oil and gas permits that come before the county could get a free pass, be permitted, and drill within a matter of days and weeks.
We began working with the different community groups, and one of the key features that community residents raised is having some type of setback, creating some type of buffer zone between oil and gas wells and sensitive receptors like homes, schools, churches, hospitals.
Oil and gas extraction and production is extremely hazardous. Oil wells emit really hazardous pollutants like fine particulate matter, ozone, as well as methane, benzene, among other toxic contaminants.
Todas estas personas que viven aquí más cerquitas de estos pozos de petróleo les está haciendo mucho daño.
The community members that I worked with were extremely concerned about the passage of this oil and gas ordinance. So we took the county to court using the California Environmental Quality Act.
They sued the county for failure to reduce the harmful impacts of oil and gas drilling on air and water quality. While the CEQA case against Kern County wound its way through court, back in Arvin, a methane gas leak was discovered under homes, forcing residents of one neighborhood to evacuate for 9 months. It became a rallying cry to push for change in the city.
We began working with the Committee for a Better Arvin and the City Council to actually pass a health protective ordinance.
The Arvin ordinance would establish a 300-foot setback protection zone between wells and sensitive receptors like homes and schools, a first in oil-rich Kern County.
The oil industry felt very threatened by this action.
The first time we had the votes that the oil industry came and scared a couple of the council members, and we ended being one vote short. And it took us a couple of years after to go back and reorganize.
Community members said, all right, we're going to elect a new council. And they did. They elected one of the most progressive city councils in the whole state of California.
And the second time, the industry came again. They scared one of the members and they threatened her with firing her because the oil industry had influence on her employer.
It was a hot, blistering day, and the city council was at standing room capacity only. There were so many community residents there, all saying they wanted this ordinance, they needed this ordinance.
Every oil operation that takes out a permit has to do their own CEQA analysis. That's where Kern County and the city of Arvin diverges in terms of their policy priorities. I will now make a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Councilmember Robles? Yes. Councilmember Martinez? Yes. Mayor Corolla?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Orgullo. Para mí fue un gran orgullo el día que pasó.
It was such a huge victory in a place that was considered unlikely.
The celebration was short-lived. Under threat of litigation, the city began moving forward on a previously submitted 2017 application from an oil company to build 4 new oil wells next to existing neighborhoods. The new ordinance only applied to project applications after January 1st, 2018.
It was very close to the homes that were built there about 10 years ago. We can't allow to have oil wells that close to the houses.
Acabamos de pasar una lucha para que pasara esta ordenanza y ahora nos quieren poner 4 pozos de petróleo. No es justo.
Despite petitions and residents speaking up against the plan, it was approved.
We talked to the Committee for a Better Arvin, and we asked them if they wanted to challenge the approval in court, and they were all fired up.
When the city approved the 4 oil wells, it relied on an exemption that's typically applied under CEQA to small structures. This exemption was never meant to be applied to dangerous oil wells. So we had to take the city of Arvin to court. After many months of litigation, the Kern County Superior Court fortunately agreed with the community. We actually won the case on Mexican Mother's Day.
En el 2019, el día 10 de mayo, el Día de las Madres, para nosotros los latinos, ganamos.
Without CEQA and without the courage of the community of Arvin, there would be 4 oil wells next to hundreds of homes and next to the 2 parks in the city of Arvin.
On the heels of this success, they began to think bigger. Everyone in California should be protected from the harmful effects of living next to oil and gas wells.
Que si la ciudad de Arvin, que es una ciudad pequeña, pudimos lograr que pasara esta ordenanza, ¿por qué no lograrlo en todo el estado de California?
Groups from all over the state, including the Committee for a Better Arvin, demanded that politicians take action by creating larger setbacks statewide. Finally, in 2022, SB 1137 came before the legislature in Sacramento.
I rise today to present SB 1137, which will protect the public health of our frontline communities by mandating a 3,200-foot health and safety buffer zone between new and reworked oil and gas wells and sensitive land uses.
SB 1137 passed and was signed by Governor Newsom in September of 2022.
Nosotros hicimos el trabajo, pero nunca imaginamos el impacto que iba a tener al impacto que hubo.
And now it's being challenged through a referendum that has qualified to be on the November 2024 ballot. It's kind of an example of how the oil industry really does rely on disproportionately impacting Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities in order to do its business.
In 2020, the California Court of Appeals struck down the Kern County Oil and Gas Ordinance for violating CEQA when it failed to account for impacts on air and water quality. The county made some revisions and reintroduced the ordinance. Despite citizens' concerns, the updated version passed in 2021. Once again, residents sued under CEQA. That case continues in the courts today.
CEQA is the greatest tool for the environmental justice communities to protect ourselves from pollution, from bad actors.
And laws and democracy in America are being fought by industries, just like the oil industry, who are trying to bring down protective laws like CEQA that have empowered our communities, that have given them the tools to raise up, to go up to the court, to go up to their city council and say, wait a minute, not that easy. Your job is to protect us, not to protect the benefits of an industry, but to protect the people that live within the city boundaries. And here's CEQA, and CEQA is giving us this power. You take that away from the communities, especially low-income communities, communities of color of California, and you take their power. You take their American dream. And not only the American dream of these communities, but the American dream of the nation as a whole.
You know, we just want CEQA to be stronger so we can live in a more clean environment.
Sal Partida passed away on January 25th, 2023 at the age of 70.
Él fue un buen líder. Siempre él nos animaba cuando nosotros decíamos, es que, ¿cómo vamos a decir eso? Él decía, como se tenga que decir, pero se va a decir.
The committee's really strong and they want to continue working to continue his legacy of engagement and improvement in Arvin.